The Trump administration is escalating pressure on election officials nationwide, threatening prosecution and withholding federal funds over voter roll audits and election security measures. Meanwhile, voting rights groups warn of a surge in mass voter challenges ahead of 2026. We examine what's happening, who's involved, and what comes next. Over the past year, election administration in America has become a flashpoint for federal intervention and mass voter challenges. The Brennan Center for Justice documented that private citizens filed more than 185,000 challenges to voter eligibility in 2024, though the actual number may be higher due to incomplete reporting from some jurisdictions. These challenges represent a coordinated strategy, according to researcher Andrew Garber, who characterized them as key elements in using election integrity as a pretext for voter suppression. The Trump administration has amplified this pressure significantly. Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin sent letters to secretaries of state in Nevada, California, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, alleging hundreds of thousands of non-citizens were registered to vote, claims election officials disputed. Mullin threatened prosecution and loss of federal funding for states refusing to comply with the administration's voter verification program. President Trump has demanded Congress require proof of citizenship for voter registration and photo identification at polling places through the Save America Act, which remains stalled in the Senate. Meanwhile, Indiana's implementation of citizenship verification has canceled or rejected registrations for hundreds of eligible voters, including longtime U.S. citizens, raising concerns about how officials distinguish between eligible citizens and ineligible non-citizens. The United States deliberately structures election administration as decentralized, spread across tens of thousands of polling places and thousands of county-level offices. This fragmentation has become both a vulnerability and a defense as federal pressure increases. The U.S. Constitution explicitly empowers states to conduct elections, though Congress retains authority over federal elections. The Trump administration's threat of prosecution and grant withholding tests these constitutional boundaries. A federal court ruled in June that the administration's use of the SAVE program to check citizenship status on voter rolls was unlawful, creating immediate conflict between administration directives and judicial precedent. Election officials in Republican-led states like Maryland and Virginia have publicly rejected Trump's characterization of the election system as broken, defending the security and reliability of their voting processes. This marks a rare public disagreement between Republican-led election machinery and a Republican president's rhetoric on system integrity. Meanwhile, approximately 80 civil society organizations across 19 states report facing Department of Justice pressure or direct federal intervention into how they conduct voter outreach and registration. A strategy document circulating among pro-democracy groups outlines resistance to what organizers describe as coordinated federal interference with the 2026 midterm elections. Multiple actors are shaping this election administration crisis. At the federal level, Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin is leading the administration's enforcement push, sending warning letters to election officials and threatening prosecution for non-compliance. The Justice Department has sued 29 states and the District of Columbia over voter roll maintenance disputes and sent warning letters to election officials in all 50 states. The Trump administration also fired 2 Democrats from the U.S. Election Assistance Commission and forced 1 Republican to resign, leaving the independent federal body without its full complement of commissioners ahead of the 2026 cycle. On the state level, election officials, including those in Maryland, Virginia, and Indiana, are implementing or resisting citizenship verification requirements, with mixed results regarding eligible voter protections. The Brennan Center for Justice and approximately 80 civil society organizations across 19 states are coordinating resistance to federal intervention. Doran Schrantz, former executive director of the Minnesota faith-based organizing group Isaiah, is identified as a key author of Act Free to Be Free, a state and local pro-democracy framework. These groups argue the administration is preparing to interfere with the 2026 midterms and and are building resistance infrastructure at the state and local level. The numbers reveal both the scale of voter challenges and conflicting claims about election vulnerabilities. In 2024, private citizens filed 185,232 voter challenges across studied states, yet officials accepted only 5,477, just 3% of the total. This dramatic rejection rate illustrates the coordinated nature of challenge efforts. In Georgia alone, officials contacted approximately 875,000 voters in 2023 who had moved or had not voted recently. Yet successful challenges brought against those voters the following year numbered in the hundreds, more than 100 times lower. Indiana's citizenship verification process affected 1,625 people, with 62% of those processed having their registrations canceled or rejected. President Trump cited a Department of Homeland Security report identifying 278,000 non-citizens registered to vote across the United States, with the review examining voter data in California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Nevada. Trump claimed that 18 states had voter rolls compromised by foreign actors, alleging China accessed 220 million personal data records, characterizing it as the largest compromise of election data in history. However, election officials and the Election Assistance Commission note that voter roll data is sometimes commercially available or obtainable through public records requests. Election officials and voting rights advocates are bracing for significant disruption heading into the 2026 midterm elections. The Brennan Center warns that mass voter challenges are likely to accelerate, with coordinated efforts potentially suppressing votes and eroding public confidence in election integrity, even though most challenges historically fail. Eligible voters facing challenges sometimes choose not to vote rather than navigate confusing eligibility resolution processes. The Trump administration has explicitly signaled aggressive enforcement. Homeland Security Secretary Mullen stated that states refusing to participate in the SAVE program could become federal investigation priorities, stating the machines have to be secured and voter registration lists need to be scrubbed. The administration is pursuing a two-track enforcement strategy: mandatory security upgrades to voting machines for all states, with non-compliant states losing federal grants, and a national review of voter rolls using the federal SAVE program. However, legal obstacles persist. A federal court has already ruled the SAVE program's application to voter rolls unlawful. State leaders, pro-democracy organizations, and some Republican election officials are coordinating resistance frameworks, while Senate Republicans have not advanced Trump's Save America Act, which includes voter identification requirements and remains stalled in the chamber. This has been a deep dive from the American Star News. Full reporting on this story and the rest of the week's coverage is at theamericanstarnews.com. Subscribe for the next briefing.